Hello, friends. Hello, friends on YouTube. I'm just gonna keep on doing this thing and hoping I get better at it. Excuse me. By this thing, I mean vlogging. You know, I am sans tripod tonight. Just doing this on one of my phone's cameras. I have gear like I've talked about before. I actually have a really nice camera and a really nice Gorilla Pod for it. I'm still getting not pro status, but getting better with that stuff. So anyway, that's down the pike, as well as better editing. You know, with these, I'm just like hacking off the ends and little chops here and there that probably are difficult to even see to people unless they're really looking for it. But I figured tonight I wanted to talk about something very personal in particular that's not related to my previous video very much. I mean, it is to some extent, but so this stuff is social media, right? YouTube is considered part of social media, and a lot of what's on this platform is it's people just showing you their lives or talking about life, what have you, you know. And I'd be lying if I said I don't watch a lot of vloggers on the YouTube platform. People who show you different aspects of their lives, and there are people who, like Joe Guerrero over at AfterPrisonShow. Shout out to Joe. Joe's awesome. He's one of my inspirations. I wanted to mention him on the last video and I forgot to. Joe's awesome. I fucking love him. Love your stuff, Joe. You're badass. Love everything you do, and the whole situation with Danny is just so unfortunate, man. You don't deserve to be, you know, done dirty like that. You helped him rebuild his life, and he spit in your face, and no bueno, man. So anyone out there watching this, like, who's Joe? After Prison Show, type it into your search bar, one word, After Prison Show. He's awesome. Honestly, Joe is one of the probably top 5 content creators who got me to take this seriously and start really playing around with cameras, at least for the vlogging aspect. As far as stuff later on, you'll see where the shots are locked off, or tracking, or trucking, or panning, or whatever. That's stuff that I actually learned long ago, and took some technical classes years ago, and then, you know, just spending your whole life watching shit tons of movies. I'm getting a little more comfortable cursing because I don't know whether or not these will be monetizable. I'd like for them to be at some point, because like everybody else, I've got to put food on the table. I've got to pay rent / mortgage, whatever. So what is it I want to talk about tonight? Okay, so a little bit of background. So we're here in the midst of all this stuff, the COVID-19 and the quarantining, what have you. Well, social restrictions have loosened somewhat, at least here in the state of California and the United States. And so people are going out and doing things a little bit more. I've been going to, and I'm not going to rehash too much, but I'm an addict in recovery. It's a part of my life and part of my story. Backstory and ongoing. I've talked about that before in videos and on my other social media, and I talk about it here on camera, here on video a lot. I have some ideas for pieces that are going to be about the ins and outs of addiction, stuff that is absolutely not for children or the squeamish. And I'm not saying that to try to make it sexy or glamorous, or the word we use in the rooms, in 12-step rooms, is glorify. I don't mean to glorify my war stories. You're going to learn all these 12-step phrases from me. Glorifying war stories. You'll hear that in a NA meeting or an AA meeting or SA meeting or GA or OA. I go to a few. I get nervous talking about some of this stuff, like saying that I go to SA meetings sometimes. You can Google that. I'm not going to talk about that yet. But I'll put it out there. Of you know, alcohol and other substances and other activities and people are things that I've used to escape. And that brings us to the topic here. So I consider myself recently separated, broken up, what have you, newly single to some extent. I was in a relationship. I have to try and explain this carefully, but not so carefully that if you take me seriously and you respect what I'm here to do on my channel, which I appreciate it, all those who do, for sure. if you want to know about me, that's why I talk about the social media aspect. If you want to know about this guy Matt on your screen right now, he's going to show you himself and just try to make it interesting and entertaining to some extent. And more than anything, true to life insofar as I can refract my experiences out through the prism of my own mind and experience and influences and imagination to a listener / viewer, right? What I mean by that is, like, you know, history's written by the winners, nonfiction's not entirely nonfiction, all these kinds of adages and phrases you hear people talk about, particularly writers. So as much as so what I'm going to tell you, I will be as honest as I can be, but I can't guarantee it'll all be 100% empirically accurate, simply because all of us, every human being, our experiences come filtered through who we are and what we are and what we've done and what we do. And even what for me, I hope, for what I hope to do, for what I want to be now and going forward in my life. So back to the relationship. That's the gist of this, and I'll try not to make this one too long. The last one about the Narcan story and the two guys who died in the rehab I was in, and then came back from the dead. It's called Narcan: A Love Story. Watch it after you watch this one. It's a really good story. I promise. I promise you will be glad you spent the time watching it. It's a real story. I've watched the video myself, and there's not one single exaggeration in that entire thing. If anything, I underplayed it. How genuinely frightening and just fucked up and scary and otherworldly it was to be in the building with two people whose souls drift out of their bodies and then slam back into their bodies, and the whole time you're oblivious. But you're not oblivious stupidly, you're oblivious because you yourself are immersed in an activity that is extremely stressful and intensive, and all eyes are on you. And in my case, I was in the building giving a speech, basically, when that happened, so I wasn't even aware of it, nor was the audience until after the fact, when those two young men had been brought back to life. So anyway, I'm rehashing the other video. Watch it, please. Also, hit like and subscribe. Do all that YouTube-y stuff, please, 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 and hit the bell, right? If that's still a thing. I don't know how much YouTube's going to change over the time that I get all this stuff up, but right now, hitting that bell is definitely a good way to see new content from me or any of your favorite creators on the platform when it comes up, goes live. If you don't do that, apparently the algorithm's screwy. It won't put everybody in your feed like it's supposed to. YouTube is kind of magic voodoo to me, and I've got a good friend who works there, so I want to talk to him soon about, how does this stuff all work? So, meandering, to the point. So I'm leaving from hanging out with some friends tonight. We did, of all things, we did putt-putt. We did miniature golf. You do the whole thing with a face mask on, which, I gotta tell you, it's not a strenuous sport. It's barely a sport, right? But, man, my face was so hot under that mask. When I took it off, it was like opening an oven. Just all this heat came off of my face. My beard was like steaming, like I'd just taken a costume off or something. So I'm driving home, and I've got music blasting in the car, and it's a lot of progressive metal bands I really like, very emotional stuff. So like Tesseract and Periphery and The Contortionist, and then less emotional, sort of reflective and more volatile and vitriolic, right? Code Orange, their new album Underneath, which is just a fantastic record. But anyway, a lot of heavy music, but in particular the song Lune, L-U-N-E, which is moon in French. It's a song by Periphery. It's a really beautiful, kind of a ballad that's at the end of Periphery 3, Select Difficulty. It's their 4th album, but it's called Periphery 3. Ask them. Ask Misha and Spencer and Matt. They'll know why they called it that. And not P3, or P4. But anyway, so that song is on. It's a very emotional, very beautiful song. I would love to play some of it for you right now, just a little bit, but I know a little bit of how the bots work on YouTube and how they'd yank, my content almost immediately. I get a copyright strike. So just trust me on this. Search it up if you like. Periphery Lune, L-U-N-E. It's a gorgeous song, and do it especially if you've got good speakers or a good set of headphones. It's just a really gorgeous song. I can hear the intro in my head right now as I'm talking to you. But it got me thinking about this recent breakup, and I'm just gonna honestly try to condense this down. I'm being frank right now. I want to get this crystallized on camera as a record of what I'm feeling right now about this situation, because how I'm feeling in this moment is very clear. I'm extremely, almost painfully sober right now. Like, between you and me, viewer, I could break down crying any second. I'm extremely emotional right now. I've got quite a bit of clean time at the moment. No substances. So I'm keenly aware of thoughts and emotions, and right now I'm feeling them very much, because I've been feeling a little bit flat, a little bit dry, a little bit distant for a while. And that's something that happens when you detox and you go for a while after you've been regularly using, all these Freudian slips, regularly losing, that too, but using is what I meant to say. When you're doing that, you, getting back to like whatever the hell normal means, in terms of just your own brain chemistry being balanced, the elusive homeostasis, as it's called. Your emotions are all over the place. Well, my point is that they're not all over the place tonight and right now as I'm talking to the camera. I feel very clear-headed about this. So I was very much in love. I'd like to, part of me wants to say I'm still in love with her. God, should I say her name on camera? You'll never know who she is. I'll just say it. Her name is Catherine. My ex-girlfriend's name is Catherine. Like I said, saying I love her or loved her is hard, because part of me still does love her. We were an ill-advised romance. All the aspects, all the facets to a doomed romance were there from the jump. She is not available. She is in a relationship. Trying to think how to put this. She's with someone else in a very committed way, and I was the other man. Our love affair was just that, an affair. I won't get into too many gory details here, and I'm not doxing anyone. I just really wanted to use her name, Catherine. It was always tumultuous. The word toxic gets thrown around a lot these days, but in my case with Catherine, I own my part of it. We were utterly toxic, and not even that late into it. Like, the first few months of seeing each other, which at this point was about 3 years ago. These things go on so long, you don't even realize it until they suddenly stop. Just halt. And boom. And there you are, alone. And you've got this person. You've cut them off, all forms of communication. The only way they could reach you would be a smoke signal, or showing up at your doorstep uninvited, which I fear sometimes, because the relationship was emotionally abusive. Again, pretty early on it was. It's strange. Oliver Thorne, aka Philosophy Tube, has that wonderful video called Men, Abuse, Trauma. Look it up if you're interested in this sort of thing, but men get abused too. It's just not talked about as widely as women being abused. And that being said, let me be very clear here. I am not saying poor us, boo-hoo, women get all the attention. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. Any woman who's ever been abused in any way, shape, or form, intellectually, emotionally, physically, spiritually, that's abuse. Abuse is abuse. And they deserve help and support and an audience. Pivot that to me, I don't have much of an audience outside of my therapist, who at this point, and my therapist is a really good dude, and I like him a lot, and he likes me a lot, but we're so familiar with each other that it's like bickering siblings in some ways sometimes. And when it comes to myself and Catherine, Matt and Catherine, he has a very short fuse about it, very short temper about it, rather. He tends to kind of be snippy with me about it, which I don't appreciate. And to be totally frank, I don't really need. I don't need that. I don't need the lectures. I know that. So here's the thing that happens. Here's some gory detail stuff. Some things that'll make my channel here and my output as an artist unique. I'm talking about, hopefully I've done it so far too, I want to explore things that are not talked about, either in art, like say fiction, or even nonfiction, films, plays, books even, just aren't explored. For whatever reason. I don't even want to judge why or guess why. I get tired from that. Think about why it's not there is a waste of time that you could be spending instead creating content like this, where you talk about the things you don't see in other places, you don't see elsewhere, you don't see other voices out there showing these things, talking about these things. So I want to be one of the people who does talk about these things, at the risk of looking like a fool or stupid or greedy or selfish, I know what I want to say, but I'm having a hard time with the words. Satisfying urges. That's a big thing for me as my addictive behavior evolved over the last 3 or 4 years. Overall, I've had addictive behavior patterns and had problems with substances and behaviors for about 12 years we're going on now. So about the last 4, though, it started to do what's called cross addiction, I believe is the phrase. Is it cross addiction? It's where you basically substitute one activity or substance for another. So I'm not drinking, but these are just hypothetical right now, but I'm not drinking, so I'm going to pill pop. I'm not drinking, so I'm going to snort. I'm not drinking, I'm going to slam. I'm not slamming, so I'm going to pop. I'm not smoking, so I'm going to chew. And I'm not, God knows. And fuck it all, I'm just going to keister. Look that one up, Urban Dictionary. K-E-E-S-T-E-R, verb tense. Yeah. I'm going to keister, my drug of choice, tonight. Because I'm so lonely, I can't stand it. Hypothetically speaking. But tonight I truly do feel lonely, and I wanted to document that. I miss Catherine a lot, but as I was just saying aloud, thinking aloud before I found this space to park and film, I miss us, Matt and Kat. I miss that. I miss the unit that we were. I miss who we were together. Like I said, I don't know that I miss her. I don't know if I miss me the way I was when I was part of us. But I miss us, the unit. She and I, me and her. I miss that very much. Because when things were good, they were very good. Again, and not even gory details, there's just things about her and I, chemistry, that is absolutely inappropriate for YouTube. And also, I don't kiss and tell like that. But we had something really, really, absolutely extraordinary. Something I've never found with another partner in all my life. And I've been active for a long time. Another thing, for those of you out there, my audience, we're talking about this addiction thing, which will be a big part of this channel always, I think, in some way. When we get deeper into our addiction and we get to a point where we're sort of substituting things, right? So, like I was saying a minute ago, slamming instead of drinking, snorting instead of smoking, what have you, you start to get sloppy. And in my case, I started to get sloppy. It was just find something. Find someone or something, put inside myself to stop the screams or the cries or the childlike whimpering in my mind. Something to take my mind off of those things. Addict loneliness is a special kind of grief. There's something, and I write for a living, and I love language, and I kind of pride myself on being able to crystallize certain emotions or ideas in words. But for me, even with all of that, words fail me when I try to explain the depths and the utter despair and abandonment I feel when I'm lonely and addicted. When I'm feeling lonely and addicted. Like right now, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I want to drink so badly, I feel like my skin is screaming. I'm having cravings that are like, I get a tingle in my spine. I get actual somatic, basically like the onset of a buzz or a high. I actually get the physical sensation of that just from thinking about using. That's why I said in the beginning, I put the warning up. Hopefully I was responsible about that. This video is not for the very young or for the very timid. Being frank here, you know, I miss that guttural, visceral connection, that erotic escape, where you escape into another person and they escape into you. And a phrase I've used before is when you're having the kind of sex like the world outside of your window, right outside your curtains, is on fire. Nuclear flame is laying waste to the world outside of your bedroom. I want that, and I want to drink, and I want to use substances. I want to run away from this feeling I'm feeling right now. It feels god-awful. It's extraordinarily painful. And in my family, I can't talk about Catherine because my family knows about the circumstances of the situation, and my parents are very uncomfortable with that. And I say none of this to accuse or imply anything. It's just I don't have anybody I can talk to about this. So I decide, you know what? Fuck it. I'll share this with the world via a popular video website. You can watch this guy named Matt. He's sitting there and he's talking about getting high and getting loaded and getting laid and getting off, hiding and running, stomping, using and taking and giving and needing and wanting and trying and failing. And in this instance, it was with one person, one specific person. It's just frightening to want somebody like that, to where we'd be together, we'd have our time, a period of a few hours before she had to go or I had to go or both. And all I could think, and the whole time I would be exquisitely, painfully aware that when we were done, we would go our separate ways again until the next time we saw one another, which that's totally fine when you're dating somebody and you both have full-time jobs or something like that. But regardless of our jobs or lives or whatever, we had to split up after each encounter because she had a family to go home to, and I had my world that had no connection to her to go back to because she compartmentalized our affair. Most of my friends might learn about her just through something like this video because I don't talk about her a lot. I've posted some things on social media about emotional abuse, experiencing it as a male from a female. I've done that. And I just think, sorry, I need to wrap this up. I apologize, I need to wrap this up. You can be addicted to more than just drugs and alcohol. And what makes my situation so keenly upsetting to me is that there was real love tangled into the affair. You know, it wasn't just using your lover to escape. It was like, I wanted her, I needed her, I had her, and I still wanted her, and I still needed her, and I loved her. And that's what people want. It's what they wish for. Some people go their whole lives hoping to feel a taste of that honey that I just gorged myself on for 2.5 years with this person, off and on. And I had it. But the price, the cost was way too high, just way too high. And I can't go back to that, and I cannot allow myself to repeat that kind of a situation again. I just can't. It's unhealthy in so many ways, so many levels. Inadvisable in the extreme. Like I said earlier, I don't advise anyone to do what I did. That being said, I don't tell anybody else how to live their life. I'll give you my thoughts if you ask for them, or my take, but I'm not big on giving advice, and I'm not big on preaching, because Lord knows I've fucked up enough times for 10 lifetimes now, and I'm at the halfway point of my life, assuming I've got a healthy lifespan. So that's it. Wanted to get that on camera. Those of you who stayed through this, on this video, through this whole thing, man, you rock. Thank you. You're awesome. Yeah, this is crazy stuff. Just needed to talk to a friend about this, and if that friend happens to be you or you or you in whichever country or state or other planet, thank you for listening and watching. I definitely appreciate it. Last thing, yeah, please, like I've said before, get engaged, comment below, thoughts, questions, what have you. Other people who've dealt with abuse and addiction and mental health issues, this is a safe space for you, truly. That became kind of a dirty word the last few years because of all these edgy idiots on the internet, but truly safe space. I'm interested in having my page, my channel be a safe space. So, and it is, as far as I'm concerned, it absolutely is. So, and I hope the sound is okay on this. I just realized it's a little bit windy all of a sudden. At any rate, that's all. Thanks. Goodbye.